All right, so we got really three things to cover today. Bear with us 1 second.
Shut down the internet.
Yeah, hold on. I'm sorry, guys, on the web. We're just trying to get our screen back on in here. All right, we're back. It's technical difficulties in the room. All right, so we have three things to cover today, and that is, again, a quick little hit on the PLC5 end of life. And then I'm going to turn over to Joe Boudreau, who I didn't introduce yet, but Joe Boudreau is our Reynolds Company Solutions and Services Specialist for the region. And he's going to do the kind of middle piece around the life cycle management, services and solutions. And then I'll kind of wrap it up at the end with migration strategies and tools. So that's going to be more of the kind of the hardware-based discussion of how we can kind of migrate from old to new, and then some of the software tools that are out there that you may or may not have seen before. All right, so we have to kind of start somewhere, and that's just kind of the industry status of where industry is. And this is probably not that surprising, especially since we have a pretty heavy integrator community listening in. This is probably not that earth-shattering information, but very small percentage of manufacturers are actually tied their machines to the enterprise network. 21% have suffered some kind of loss of intellectual property in the past year. We had a previous users group a month or two ago that talked about the exabytes of data. So just the ability, there's a ton of cloud storage capability out there, that big data, capability. And then the unscheduled downtime, right? The cost of unscheduled downtime is, when you add it all up, is astronomical. But the last two is really is highlighted there. So I have a hard time believing that's even right. I would think it's more than three-fourths, but basically most of the industrial plants are older than 20 years old, and there's a $65 billion installed base of legacy equipment. And this doesn't really just apply to Rockwell or Allen Bradley. It's going to be all the manufacturers out there. So so what are the again, this is kind of fairly obvious, I would think, to anybody who's gotten older legacy and stuff installed in their facility. But what are your risks, right? Your risks are just parts availability. The fact that who knows how to program a PLC5 anymore, right? Oh, it's good. And then right, so the subject matter expert attrition, right? There's not many guys left. I mean, present company included. The last time I've had to touch a PLC5 was a very, very, very long time ago. Safety and sustainability. So just gets into the modern equipment versus the older stuff. Regulatory compliance may not be that big of an issue in our traditional marketplace, but there are definitely markets where regulatory compliance is very important. And the biggest one is the increasing support costs. I mean, if you've priced a PLC5 CPU recently, you could probably buy 3 or 4 control logic systems, right, for the price of that one CPU. So it's just harder and harder to manufacture the older equipment. So again, like I was saying, it's not just PLC5. PLC5 is kind of top of mind today because we're at that end of life of it. But PLC5, of course, 1771IO, panel view standards, a lot of drives, motors, and this is just a Rockwell Allen Bradley centric slide. But then you look at the other manufacturers out there, and they're in the same boat as Rockwell, right? It's just harder and harder to maintain and manufacture the older industrial control equipment that's out there. So this chart is several years old, but just kind of showed you that this was, this is nothing new. Hopefully, the fact that the PLC5 is end of life is not a surprise to anybody that's listening. This has, been kind of been told now for several years, but it was a bit of a phased, a phased end of life approach, and certain catalog guys were phased out earlier, around the 2012, 2013 timeframe, and then finally here to the end of June 2017. And the real reason why this date is the RoHS compliance, so RoHS compliance, or the lead-free soldering manufacturing initiatives, I believe, are July 1st, 2017. So June 30th is that end-of-life date for PLC5. As a manufacturer, you have to kind of weigh, we have a 30-year-old product. Do we go back and we re-engineer a 30-year-old product, or do we just say, we have something newer and better out there, and let's put our R&D and investment in the newer platform? So it's a tough call, but that's kind of what led them to that decision. So just to kind of give a little, it's end of life of the PLC5, just some of the highlights. It was first released in 1986, which is pretty amazing. The PLC itself has been around since 1969, 68, 69. So the PLC is turning, it's close to its 50 years of being around, and of those 50 years, the PLC5 has been around for 30 of those 50. So that's a pretty amazing stat. This was it's an interesting document found on just Googling, but this timeline at the bottom was a big splash that Rockwell did around the 25th anniversary of the PLC. So about 1995 timeframe. So it kind of shows you the legacy, the progression, from the very first, what was like the PQD or the PDQ product, all the way into the PLC 2 and 3, and then up to the 5 in 1986. But as an interesting, just a little thing I found online, and we'll put the link to this, was a bit of a legacy timeline of all the PLC models, right? So Modicon stacked up against Allen-Bradley, stacked up against GE and Omron, and even Siemens. So again, the opportunities for you if you're an integrator, there's a lot of legacy stuff out there. And then as an end user, if you're listening, you pretty much know, if you have some old stuff in your plant, you kind of know the situation you're in. It was pretty interesting to look. You kind of look around that 1986 time frame. So the PLC5, comes out. GE was still around the Series 3, and then the FANUC relationship came about. Omron with the C200H, Monocom 984 model. So again, we'll share that link. You can kind of look at that. This is kind of an interesting little stroll down memory lane there, perhaps. So just to have a little fun as we switch here in our room, is what else happened in 1986, right? So 30 years has been a long time. Some of you guys may not have been around 1986, which is pretty amazing. Some of us were still in high school. So 1986 technology. Compaq released the Desk Pro 386S. Believe it or not, 1986, Intel released the 8386 chip in 1986, and what made it so astronomically more exciting is that it was the first 32-bit architecture chip to come out. Everything else was 16-bit before that. Compaq actually did apparently they scooped the rest of the market, and they got their product out first with 386, and they kind of owned that space for a little bit. Just like we had showed that timeline a minute ago, we'll share that link on our blog site. But there's actually a similar timeline for computer technology through the years. So just it's fascinating to watch, how things went from room size to much smaller as we know today. So now we'll have a little fun though. 1986. Who were the sports champions in 1986? We'll give away a little bit. No Googling for the home audience listening in. I have a little bit of a major clue right there, since Super Bowl 20 was here in New Orleans in the Superdome. Any guesses? No. We'll keep moving. Chicago Bears. Right here in Superdome, Jim McMahon World Series with the Mets. Celtics were in their dominant days, and then Louisville was on the NCAA. What else for 1986? Most popular TV shows? Any guesses? Alf? That was a good guess, actually. Nope, it was The Cosby Show, followed by Family Ties, Cheers. So NBC owned that. Basically, NBC owned it back then. Morgus negative's not there. And last one of these before we move on to the real topic is top movies of 1986. This is a good one. Top Gun, yeah. So surprisingly, I think what they just said they're going to make a Top Gun 2 is in the works. But Top Gun, followed closely by Crocodile Dundee. Those two went really well together. Actually, I think I've seen all of these movies. So that's I guess I'm a child of the 80s. All right, so enough of that. But in all seriousness, you know, the idea is that a lot of times you feel like you're stranded on the island right now, right? You've got old stuff and you don't know how to maintain it. I can guarantee you I get almost a daily call about something that's either a legacy network or a old quick panel or some kind of old product, and what do we do with that? So, you know, you're not stranded on the island. You're not alone. You have a lot of help. And I'm going to turn over the microphone to Joe, and Joe's going to really help explain why you're not alone in this. So bear with us 1 second.
All right, I guess I'll kind of introduce myself again. I'm Joseph Boudreau. I am the service coordinator for South Louisiana. So all of Rockwell services and solutions that they provide kind of falls under my umbrella. So what we want to talk about today is kind of, I just picked some services that we feel can help you out with your migration and legacy risk. So what is obsolescence risk? It's the extended downtime risk automation's users take either knowingly or unknowingly using products that are no longer available for sale or have limited to no serviceability. And our goal today is pretty simple. We just want to make you aware, which I'm sure most of you are aware of the risk. We also want to help you develop a strategy to migrate or ultimately eliminate that risk. So one of the cool things Rockwell does is, to my knowledge, they're the only one in our industry that makes this public knowledge, is the lifecycle status of their products. They divide it into four categories. Active is going to be the brand new product in that category. You can think of it as kind of the iPhone 7. Active mature, it'll be still a new product, still serviceable, still available, and it's just that a newer family exists in that category, product category. Think of it as the iPhone 6. End of life is when Rockwell determines a specific date in the future where they're going to stop manufacturing these parts as new. So that's end of life, and then discontinued is obviously going to be once it reaches that date, the product is discontinued. You can't buy it, brand new, and then the repair exchange services may still be available, but not all of them will be, not all products. So to find all this out, you can go on rockwellautomation.com. Once you get to that web page, you can hover your mouse over support, and then another page will pop up. You'll see tools, and under tools is the product lifecycle tool. Just click on that. Once you get to that page, you'll see the search bar. You put your catalog number in there, and this page will pop up. You'll see your description, the lifecycle status, and if it's discontinued or end of life, it'll have that date available for you. So it's a pretty neat tool to use. they have available for you online. So the 5 services we're going to talk about today. Install base evaluation is going to be the biggest one. That is the biggest tool that we can give you to help you understand where you're at, identify, give you data that you can use to identify your risk, and also help you to target locations in your plant to begin your migration process. The Rockwell remanufacturing repair, that's Rockwell taking a used piece of equipment and giving it back to you in a like new condition. So we'll get into that. Reserve repair is going to be for legacy equipment that is no longer repairable using our normal means. We'll get into that. You're still not left alone. We're not going to leave you in the cold. We'll still take care of you. Inventory assurance, it'll be for another service for suspect inventory. If you have some old inventory that you don't know what it is, where it came from, whatever the case may be, we have a service that'll help you. It's basically a recertification service. And then the PMA, the parts management agreement, is going to be the Rockwell stored material on site. So first we're going to get into the IBE. This is going to be, Rockwell defines it as a site-delivered service that provides actionable intelligence to help you make data-driven decisions regarding the support and obsolescence management of your installed base. So it's a Rockwell field service engineer that's going to go on site. It's going to collect all your data through your panels. I actually have a video I want to show now. I guess I can click it here, huh, Wayne? Yeah.
Do you have an accurate plant model that identifies your physical assets? Do you know your obsolescence risk? What if a line goes down? Do you have the parts? Do you need to get it back online quickly? Do you know what Rockwell software is running on your computers and whether you have support for these software packages? If you answered no to any of these questions, you need a Rockwell Automation Install Base Evaluation. An Install Base Evaluation, or IBE, helps you develop and support an effective strategic maintenance plan by providing you with actionable intelligence. There are 3 steps to an IBE: collecting production-specific data on site, processing and analyzing that data, then delivering detailed reports and recommendations that can help you optimize your installed base and inventory levels. Here's what an IBE might look like for a typical tire manufacturing plant. During data collection, a Rockwell Automation field service engineer uses a custom-built data collection application to gather detailed plant asset information. The Rockwell Automation engineer creates a hierarchy which is specific to that facility by mapping assets to production priorities and using terminology and plant descriptions that are important to you. Building by building, zone by zone, we go through every aspect of your production processes to capture relevant installed base and spare part data, including environmental conditions, the number of operating hours per process, and part catalog numbers. Rockwell Automation has invested in the tools and software needed to collect and analyze this kind of data efficiently. We use these tools to collect data on every asset so you and your staff can focus on running your plant. Our IBE analysts compare the collected data to our master database, which contains information and attributes for more than 3 million Rockwell Automation and third-party products. Using specially designed algorithms, mean time between failure rates, and variable operating hours by production process, we calculate recommended inventory investment levels and generate a series of reports that can be sorted according to highest risk. Finally, a Rockwell Automation IBE specialist will meet with you to present our recommendations and share the interactive reporting tools. Let's look at 3 examples. The inventory analysis report gives an overview of what's installed and what's in the storeroom. This customer's total inventory has been valued at just over $435,000. 71% of that is their installed base, and 29% is in their storeroom. A closer look at the storeroom inventory tells us that they have 32% classified as active spares, which directly support the installed base. 40% classified as excessive active spares, which is more than what they need based on our findings, and 28% classified as inactive spares, which were found in the storeroom but not in the installed base. Next, we'll look at how the $40,885 classified as active spares compares to our recommendation to pinpoint where there is a lack of critical spares. Looking at this customer's entire installed base, our spares recommendation is approximately $85,000. But the good news is that this customer has $40,885 classified as active spares, which comprises 48% of our recommendation, which means this customer would need to invest $45,000 to bring inventory levels up to where they should be, so they can minimize any unplanned downtime. So how do they know how to most effectively invest their money? Our inventory analysis spreadsheet shows the information we collected in this customer's facility. This includes part number, lifecycle status, description, installed quantity, storeroom quantity, recommended spares, and all relevant list pricing. It can be filtered to show parts running in production, parts without enough spares, or parts that exceed Rockwell Automation's recommended level of spares and may be an unnecessary additional carrying cost to the company. This can also be sorted to show the highest possible risk, parts that are installed in the facility but have no spares in the storeroom and have been discontinued. Our detailed product location report will show where these parts are located throughout the facility. This allows the customer to understand exactly where in the plant the parts are installed and even determine the specific location of all the discontinued parts. Our second example shows the results and reports for the life cycle analysis of an IBE. We start by reviewing the status of your Rockwell Automation products. Those that are active, the most current Rockwell Automation products. Those labeled active mature, products that are fully supported but a newer product or product family exists. End of life. The product's discontinued date has been announced and it's time to actively execute migrations and last time buys. And those labeled discontinued, products that are no longer manufactured but repair or exchange services may be available. Our analysts have identified 34 parts, or 18%, of this customer's installed base as being discontinued. Our product by location report identifies which locations and machines have the highest level of end-of-life and discontinued products. In this example, Control Room 7 has the highest risk, but our customer knows that main floor 6A is more critical to production. Now they will make sure that they have enough spares to cover the machines on main floor 6A. Next, we'll look at the migration planning worksheet to classify the largest areas of risk and to develop a risk mitigation strategy for main floor 6A. This data can be sorted to show part location, manufacturer, part number, installed quantity, spares availability, life cycle status, and so on. Viewing information this way helps to prioritize where and how to invest your inventory budget. You'll also want to understand the software ramifications of updating your controllers. Do you know what software you have in your facility and if you have support for that software? The software inventory evaluation can show you the Rockwell software you're running in your facility, how many installs you're licensed for, and whether you have support for those licenses. A Rockwell Automation installed base evaluation gives you valuable insight into your facility's inventory levels. It allows you to catalog and locate every spare part in your facility so you can identify the critical spares as well as the life cycle status for every part. This information is essential for optimizing inventory levels, lowering inventory costs, reducing downtime, and improving your strategic maintenance plan. Don't wait until it's too late. Talk to a Rockwell Automation representative today to schedule an installed base evaluation.
All right. So basically the IBE, it's going to help you answer the basically 5 main questions. What do you have installed? What is the life cycle of the parts you have installed? Do we have sufficient spares to cover our critical installed base? You know, that's definitely going to help us decrease our downtime. Do we have too many spares of one product? Can we reduce inventory in certain areas? You know, increase our return on assets? And do we have spares to support discontinued products. That's why we're here. Identify and mitigate risk associated with supporting legacy equipment. So this, real quick, it's field collecting, processing, and delivery. The deliverable is all the Excel sheets where you can search and find and all the data that we've collected, and then we'll give you a executive summary. We'll come and do a presentation for you, your management team, whoever. And the first thing we're going to do, even before we go on site, is develop a hierarchy. So that way, we're going to develop it all the way to the panel level and then the product in the panel level. So that way, when you're searching through all that data in Excel and you're picking and choosing where you want to see where your risk is at, we know exactly where, what part, what location, exactly where it's at in your plant. So now we're gonna. I grabbed a couple slides from an example executive summary, and we're gonna kind of go through that just so you get an idea of what you'll be presented with, what you can use. So here, the first column is unique part numbers. That's gonna be. We did Rockwell install base repairables, third party, all the non-Rockwell stuff. Unverified might be something in the panel that we didn't know, something foreign to us. So we'll record that data too. And then, as you can see, it covers your installed base, your storeroom, and your stash. Your stash is going to be, everybody's got somebody who's been there for a long time, and they've got parts and I/O cards all over in their office, under their desk, wherever. We got to go find. We want to collect all that inventory as well too. And then total items. So in this sample, you got 1,844 total items. 161 panels, 3 storerooms, and 1 stash room we found. So first thing, we're also going to give you the Rockwell Automation value of your assets today. So that's going to be the value you have in your active installed base, your spare parts value, and your stash parts. Then we're going to go through your status of spares, and we're going to give you not only a monetary value for it, but we'll let you know if it's active. Active is going to be what we found. Now this is just the spares in your inventory. Active is going to be what we found in the field. We also found in your inventory, and according to Rockwell's mean time between failure data, we feel that you have the right amount of spares to cover what you have in the field. Excess active is going to be, obviously, we found in the field is what we found in the storeroom, but we feel to our Rockwell's mean time between failure data, you have too many spares in that category, that product. And then obviously inactive is going to be product we found in your storeroom, but we didn't find it anywhere in your facility. Might mean we missed a panel. You know, there's big facilities with the panels hidden in all kind of places, or it could mean it's just old projects, old parts that you've never got around to get rid of. And then we'll give you an estimated excess carrying cost. What is that costing you to hold all that material that you don't need in your inventory? Also, what we're going to show you is going to be a facility lifecycle status. So we'll go through all your products, and we'll let you know 21% in this example, 21% or 325 products are discontinued. Right? So 21% of your facility has already reached discontinued. Have you started a migration strategy? Do you have anything in place for that? You got 14% or 210 at end-of-life products. Same thing. It's not discontinued yet, but it will be soon. So have you started looking for a strategy for that 210 parts? Then we're going to show you risk by location. So again, this is using our hierarchy we established beforehand. So here, see if biscuits processing is you got 100 parts, roughly 100 parts discontinued in that location. In biscuits processing, you have 100 parts that are discontinued. you have 150 or over 150 that are either end of life or discontinued. Do you have a migration? Is business processing a critical part of what you do? You may say, no, that's something that's going away. We're going to sell that asset. We don't need to migrate that. So then for the next one, you may say, maybe it might go all the way down to packaging. If packaging is a crucial part of your process and you didn't realize that you had maybe 70 parts in that single location that is either discontinued or end of life, have you started working on a migration strategy? Then we're also going to give you obsolescence risk by product. So we'll take this one showing your top 5 discontinued or end of life products. So again, it's just another way to look at it. In your facility, 1771 OAD, it's end of life. Have you thought about what is the next product up after it's? Have you thought about a strategy moving that product up? Then the one below it, whatever that number is, so you got 50 something there. Again, that's the same thing. It's already discontinued. You've got that in your plant. What are you doing to make sure if one of those go down, you have something in place, a strategy in place to help you out? And then this is really one of the most important slides we're going to show you or your management team. This is spare parts inventory by location, but it's spare parts. Actually, it's no spare parts. It's by location and of your installed base. But we found it in your installed base. They're discontinued products, but we didn't find them in your spare room inventory. So you have it in your installed base as discontinued, but you don't have the spares in your storeroom. So if something happens to those parts that are discontinued, you can't call Reynolds or Rockwell and want something brand new right away. You know, and again, in this example, you got 81 parts in location labeled pancakes. If pancakes isn't a critical part to your process, that might be something you can live with, but you may go to the next one, Danish. If that location in your plan, I mean, again, this is pinpointing your high risk. If that portion of your plan is critical, then that's where you know you need to start. And then, real quick, we're already going on your panel, so we're going to just give you an overall condition of your panel, the environment, and ventilation, ground, and wiring. You know, is it rusted out? Is there water getting into it? Is some food and bev may have syrup, whatever it is. Is there rat's nest? And the engineers who are doing they have their criteria, good, fair, or poor. So we'll give you that info. Another thing we'll give you is a spare parts inventory. So what is the condition of your spare parts? Are they sealed in a box where you know they're good, or are they in a box but the seal's been broken? Do they look used? Do they look questionable in any sort? So we'll give you that data as well, and I'll cover a service we can provide to help you out with your suspect inventory. Okay, now we're going to jump. Any questions on that before everybody's good? So remanufacturing and repair. Rockwell can remanufacture Rockwell assets as well as repair third-party stuff. They got 144 million in repair parts inventory, 9 global hubs. We got 3 standard offerings, which we'll get into in a second. They're all ISO certified facilities. You know, they got a big group of people behind this remanufacturing repair. So what is remanufacturing? This is the OEM. So Rockwell is going to return a used piece of equipment into a like new condition. And what we do here at the reman facilities is we're going to do all the auto warranty transactions, which is all the billable stuff. The new product warranty transactions we'll fix there, and then you get a warranty with anything we remanufacture. We'll take care of that there. And And again, a lot of the stuff we do to the Rockwell, especially to the Rockwell parts, we're the only ones who can do it. And what does like new mean to Rockwell? We're going to restore it to a functional state. We expected that part to function and work just like it did brand new. Firmware revisions. That is something Rockwell can only, every time you send something in for remanufacture, we're going to check it, see if the firmware needs to be, the latest firmware revisions. Engineering updates. Verification of all OEM specified components. That again, that's all Rockwell stuff. Functional testing completed. We're going to make sure that everything we send back to you has been functionally tested to make sure that we know it works before you get it back. And then the other thing is serial number. The first thing we do when we get that part in the repair hub, we're going to log the serial number so we can keep track of the warranty, whether it's a new product or a remanufactured warranty, whether you got an extended warranty, whatever you did, we'll keep track of that for you. And then it's a comprehensive warranty. That's the other thing. So if you send in a drive, let's say, and you only needed one little component of that drive repaired, when we send that drive back to you, that entire drive is going to be covered under the warranty, not just that component we fixed. So I guess for the sake of time, I had another video I was going to show, but basically it's a proprietary remanufacturing process. Again, all the firmware enhancements, the engineering updates. So basically, it'll show we're going to receive it. That's when we do the login of the serial numbers. We're going to do all their enhancements and revisions. That'll be the engineering update, component verification, replacement. We're going to do the functional testing. Again, we're going to make sure that product actually works before it sends out. Environmental testing, final quality, and then we'll secure ship it. I guess we're not going to show the video just for sake of time. Yeah, we'll put it online after, and it is all this is on Rockwell's website. Everything I'm showing y'all today. So the 3 service levels are going to be economy, standard, and priority. All three levels go through the same exact process. The only difference is going to be the delivery date and the warranty. Economy is going to be the cheapest. It's the 4-week turnaround. You're going to get a 12-month warranty. Standard is going to be roughly a 2-week turnaround, and you get an 18-month warranty. And then priority is going to be your priority exchange. We're going to ship it to you next day air, and you're going to get a 2-year warranty on that. On the priority exchange, once you get the new product, we're going to ship it to you with a shipping label to send your old product back to us so we can remanufacture that and put it back in our hub. So that part of the process has to take place as well. So some of these warranties are better than the new product warranty right there. So that's some value added. Okay, now once a product gets to it's obsolete, it's not readily available to be able to repair, then we need to look at reserve repair. So what reserve repair does is Rockwell says, we're going to give you access to the repair. You're going to give us a list of your obsolete parts in your facility, the parts that you think are critical and you want us to make sure we can repair. We're going to go out and secure the components to all those parts to make sure we have the capabilities in-house to repair those parts for you. So the actual repair will be a different transaction, but we're just securing you access to those legacy items that are very hard to repair, very old stuff, and more than hard to repair, the parts are hard to come by. So that is definitely a service that can keep you running if you got to keep these older equipments running for another couple of years or whatever your strategy is. Here's another service we can help you with. And then inventory assurance. It's another service for all your suspect inventory that's been laying around. You don't know where it came from, who bought it, somebody, before you bought it, and packages are open, it looks used. Basically what inventory assurance does is you can send 5 units back to it. It doesn't have to be the same unit, just five parts to us. we'll run it through a recertification process. Basically, it's the end process of all the reman facility. If it passes all of those tests, we're going to put it back in a box, seal it, and give it back to you with a 1-year warranty. If it fails any of those testing, we're going to put it through the remanufacturing process, and then it'll be billable for the remanufactured price. So again, this is so for all your inventory, you don't know suspect inventory. This is a very cost-effective way of recertifying your inventory, so that way you know what you have is good. Any questions on anything I've covered so far? Good. All right, so now we're going to get into the PMA, Parts Management Agreement. This is Rockwell-owned inventory on site. This is going to be, it's a flexible, easy to use inventory that we're going to manage, and it'll give you access to your critical spares and reducing your carrying costs. This service will definitely reduce your inventory costs. We will own and manage your spare inventory for a fixed amount replenished with Rockwell automation, remanufactured and renewed parts. So again, this is just another slide hitting on it's for your critical spares. We'll do an in-service warranty, which I'll get into next slide. But you can actually do an extended warranty option. Some customers choose to go ahead with that as well. All right, so this is it's kind of a slide I just put together to kind of go through the financial of why it'll save you money, and then the other benefits of going with Rockwell's PMA. So it's you got to have spares on site. So either you own it, or we can do Rockwell owns it through the PMA. So let's say, for easy math, we got one part. It's a $100 list price, meaning it's Rockwell's price online. But we know, Reynolds, so you actually don't pay $100. You probably pay close to $75. Carrying costs, if you look it up now, it's really lean operations are at 10%. You can go all the way up to 28% or even higher. If you Google it today, I think the national average is around 20% is the actual carrying cost. But for our discussion, we just keep it easy, 10%. Say you lean. And then carrying costs is defined. It's all your taxes, your insurance, storage, whatever cost you incur to keep your inventory. That's carrying cost. So 10% each year. We're gonna go through a 5-year PMA. So again, you bought that part for $75. Year 1, you could pay another $750 in carrying costs, all the way through year 5. So at the end of that 5 years, that part on your shelf actually costs you $112.50. If we did it at 20%, the number would be $150. So if if we choose to go the PMA route, we're going to charge you 1.12% of list price per part per month. So in this example, it'd be the $100 times the 1.12% times 60 months for the 5-year PMA. So at the end of year 5, which you actually paid for that part is $67.20. So even if you're lean at 10% carrying costs, you're still saving money right there. But if you're up in the 20%, that cost would actually be more like $150. So other things to keep in mind is obviously Rockwell carries and manages carries the carrying costs and manages all the inventory. But if you own that part, if you buy it, year 1, unless you buy extended warranty, year 1 your warranty is expired. With Rockwell's PMA, you get an in-service warranty. So let's say in year 4 or 5, something happens and a part breaks. You got to go into the PMA cabinet. You grab something off our shelf. You break open the seal. You put it in the inventory. Once you break that seal in that box, that's when the warranty starts, right? So you can get, so whatever process you choose to do in that so the PMA will be a different billable than the reman to put that old part back into the PMA. So let me step back. So you grab a part, you pull it off the field, you grab the new part, put it from the PMA cabinet, you install it back in your facility. That's when your in-service warranty starts for that. That old part, you need to give it back to us. We'll put it through the remanufacturing process, and that process will be billed, and then we'll put it back in your PMA, right? So you're saving money on your inventory, and then you're going to save money on the remanufactured item versus buying it brand new. Now we can, if you prefer to always have brand new products in your inventory, there is a different, we can do that under a PMA. It'll be priced different, but that's it's kind of the same thing. So it'll help you a couple of different ways. And then all the obsolescence risks. If you own the inventory, you hold all the obsolescence risks. You own it. It's yours. Obviously, if we own it, if Rockwell owns it, Rockwell covers obsolescence. And then flexibility. Again, whatever you buy, you got to keep. What Rockwell does is, as long as an item is on that contract for 12 months, you can delete it. You can add at any time. You can add to the inventory. So let's say you have a line that goes down, or you're selling asset, whatever. For whatever reason, you don't need that inventory anymore. After that product has been there for 12 months, we can take that product off of the inventory at no charge, and we'll, if you choose to do a yearly billing or quarterly billing, however you choose to do it, we'll amortize the payments to fit what you have now, right? Or if you pay for it up front, we'll go ahead and credit you back for the time not used for that product. And then you can add products whenever you want, right? And again, it's easy to change the payments and amortize how needed. So the last thing is, what happens on a PMA after 5 years? There's three ways you can go. You can send the parts back to us at no charge. We'll just come pick them up. But then you have no spares to cover you for. You can buy the inventory. So you can buy the inventory at 50% of list price. So in this example, you would pay $50 for that part, and then or reevaluate and renew. I think that's it for the PMA. Any questions? Good.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So the products that you can repair, is there a listing somewhere that gives, like the life cycle reports? I've got the discontinued list. Is there a list to say these are still repairable or not?
It's hard to do that because of are you talking about on discontinued parts?
Yeah.
I have not seen one, because it's a moving target, right? So if the parts are available, we'll repair them through our normal process. But in discontinued parts, there's really no guarantee they will be available, right?
So there's no published to say, hey, this one is off the list. We can't repair it at all. Then.
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, we've always had to run these on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah.
We go into SAP and we put in the part numbers and we say, okay, we've got 10
right.
of those above, or it's not repairable, and it's.
Yeah. Online, I don't know if you can hear that, but it's a case-by-case basis. It's
It was supplied to me, so whether they have parts there available.
Right. Yeah.
Or whether they're all used up.
Well, it'd just be nice to be able to say, this one is gone, it's off the table. Now, the ones that are still marginal, at least you know, don't count on trying to get this repaired anymore. Because right now it's call us and see, and it's hard to plan and answer leadership questions when they come down to, what can I get repaired?
Yeah, the ones that are gone, I bet we could probably get that. But it's going to be stuff that it's not going to be PLC 5 stuff. It's going to be PC drive from 1975. Rock-IO probably be on there.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
So in the inventory plan options, is it all or nothing, or can a client, I guess, go into any agreement for select inventory for Rockwell to manage a select?
Yeah.
Reserve to select. Yeah.
Yes, yes. You give us the list. You give us the list. Same thing with the PMA for the the newer parts. You can start that off with one part. Same thing with reserve repair. If you just want it with one part, we've had those cases in the past actually.
So the challenge is if you can move. The opportunity would be if you can move some high-risk items into the Rockwell bucket and get some additional guarantees and maybe supply some spares. That may be the option. So the third question is, what happens if some of these spares that you're currently carrying for clients in this agreement, that client upgrades and you pull them Rockwell spares back? Are those made available to others, things you might not have had before, or is that?
Yep. No, they are available.
So is there a holding list of someone they can say, hey, if this comes available, I want first dibs?
Right. Well, on the reserve repair, that's what you're paying for, is for us to guarantee you that we have those components to be able to fix your product list that you've given us. We'll have those and allocate it to customer A. This is only yours. These components are only for your customer.
Until you run out of pieces, you don't know when that.
What Mike's saying is he's looking for like a heads up on, you've got this huge PMA with general bills, let's say, for a bunch of PLC 5 stuff, and it's coming up to end of life, and so you might get all those parts back. He's saying if you had a heads up that was available, you could let other people know that, hey, here this contract ending, and these parts are going to be available. But again, that's
right.
It's until it comes back in the Rockwell system.
Yeah.
All right.
Questions?
Good. Thank you.
All right, quick mic swap again. Sorry for the noise online. It's like our microphone ran out of battery, so I'll go on the handheld. All right, so we got a couple more slides, and we're going to wrap it up. I know we're getting close to the top of the hour. So, so what Joe was presenting there, of course, was services and solutions around, obviously if you have an install base of legacy stuff, we know we're realistic people. We know you just can't go, pull it all out tomorrow just because it's obsolete, right? You have to kind of live within the, the budgets and the priorities of the facility. So those are tools and services that will help you extend that life cycle. Of course, if you are in a position where you are ready to migrate and move to the modern, especially on the controller side, next couple of slides will kind of address that. So first off is the 1771 migration or conversion chassis. If you have not seen this guy before, we actually have one in the room here. I don't have my webcam on today for the online audience, but this is what a picture of it looks like, or kind of what you get out of the deal. And the biggest advantage of this is if you're a 1771 or PLC 5 chassis, the migration chassis or the conversion chassis takes your existing 1771 I/O wiring and then brings it into the ControlLogix without you having to actually rewire any of the field wiring points. So you would kind of take the swing arm off of the I/O cards, and then there's cables, pre-made cables that would allow you to kind of mate up to the swing arm of the 1771 and then go right into the matching ControlLogix card. The big thing with this guy is that there is a particular card that kind of goes like a 1-for-1 type translation, right? So if it's like a 1771 IAD card, and there will be a particular ControlLogix card that you would go with to match up. That way, and all the wiring is figured out in that cable for you.
How does it
Mount? Yeah, so the biggest, and good point, Kevin, the big advantage of the conversion chassis is it matches the same hole pattern as the 1771 chassis. So when you pull you pull the existing 1771 chassis out, the conversion chassis fits the same hole pattern, so there's no drilling or tapping of holes there. And then the ControlLogix sits on top. So this is actually it. In the little video, very, very short video, I'll show. So that's kind of what it looks like, right? So it does add about 3.5–4 inches of height to the panel. And really, it's designed for an I/O rack conversion. So if you had like a CPU rack that might be just kind of bringing in remote I/O data, there's no local I/O in that chassis, then the conversion chassis doesn't really buy you a whole lot of value. But if you have an I/O rack with lots of I/O wiring in place, that's where the conversion chassis really comes in handy. So this is a very, very quick little video.
The conversion modules allow for the
shows it much better than I can explain it.
1771 I/O field plan to the 1756 I/O. It creates an easier method of
So that was, like I said, the video kind of does a nice job of showing it. So big advantage there is time savings, right? So we find ourselves in that situation with a lot of customers when we talk about the conversion chassis is, they might have a very limited downtime situation. Conversion chassis definitely helps. There are times when a customer is like, you know what, if we're going to go through the process of ripping out all that, we want to kind of clean up the wiring. So a lot of times the conversion chassis, they may not want to go that route. So
you have one-for-one for each one of the cars, or do you have to sometimes wire directly?
No, it's one for one. There are situations where like one card might turn into two ControlLogix cards, and sometimes two 1771 cards might turn into one ControlLogix card. So there are situations like that. All right, so the other, at this point too is, again, we're talking about downtime situations and just, how much do you really want to disrupt the operations, and that's when we start, get into the phased migration. So, so there's really, there's a lot of ways to do this, and there, what we show on the slides here is just one way, and everybody's, of course, got different circumstances, but there's a lot of flexibility in kind of migrating, to the new stuff, and it all really boils down to getting onto the Ethernet IP backbone for all your I/O. But with the ControlLogix family, you can still bridge to your older legacy networks. You can kind of replace a controller first, keep the bridge to your legacy networks, and then over time switch your I/O racks over to Ethernet IP, kind of at a little bit, perhaps if you have little windows of opportunity versus one long outage. So this slide just kind of builds that up a little bit, right? So phase one, of course, is the code conversion. So there is a this slide talks about conversion services, but there is a software conversion tool that is available from Rockwell's website. You can download, and then you can take your code and convert it. And there's steps to that, of course, but you can convert your code. Like we said a minute ago, next step would be replace the PLC 5 controller. So in this case, we took the controller out, put the ControlLogix in its place. We still remained on our legacy network. Again, there's a lot of advantage to that, right? Because we know, when you get to the I/O side of things, that's when the can of worms gets opened, right? So if you want to keep that network in place, and we know also it's easy for us to say go to Ethernet, but you just can't go pull Cat5 cable, easily throughout the facility. So there's a lot of reasons why staying on the legacy network might make sense for a short-term period. Next step may be on the HMI side, right? So it's probably a lot easier to convert your HMI side to Ethernet, and again, kind of leaving your I/O perhaps on that legacy network. And then finally, one of the final steps would be to start to migrate those I/O chassis to Ethernet, and that can be done in a bit of a phased approach too, right? So you can kind of keep some stuff on the legacy network and then kind of cut some racks over to Ethernet IP. And in that case, they show in this example that the conversion chassis is being used, and that's again where the conversion chassis really really helps make for a really quick and easy migration. There's a migration document. It'll be made available on our website as part of the kind of follow-up to this session. So kind of shows you these pictures as well. So we talked about the PLC 5, but we can also talk about the SLIC 500. The SLIC 500 is it's active mature, so it's not in any end-of-life status yet. But we know that again, there's newer technology out there, compact logics, control logics. So going to a SLIC, in a greenfield type situation, doesn't really make a lot of sense. And then if you're got a SLIC customer out there, you can do a very similar type of approach. Here, this is kind of the before and after Data Highway Plus, but now they're moving to compact logics. And the nice thing about the SLIC is that you can take the CPU out and you can put the 1747 AENTR module in its place. So now that SLIC rack is a Ethernet remote I/O drop. So again, the SLIC I/O is not going end of life, so you can kind of maintain the I/O part of it, but then get the advantages of the Logix family. So in a similar kind of build-up, of course, they're showing step one is kind of documenting, so that part of that install base evaluation, perhaps, just kind of know what's out there. Plan your migration, right? So I'm going to show you that tool in a second. Integrated Architecture Builder has a great little wizard to help you with these migrations. Code conversion, once again, there's a software utility that Rockwell provides that can help you convert that code. And then begin to replace the, you can basically put a compact Logix kind of as your controller, kind of just a CPU by itself, really could just sit there, and then again, you can go to Ethernet on your and use your SLIC racks now as an Ethernet drop. So again, quick and easy migration. And then they're kind of building into operator interfaces as well onto the Ethernet platform. And there's a separate SLIC migration publication that we'll post as well. Yep. So so basically, just showing you that typically PLC 5 you're looking at a control Logix. SLIC 500 you typically compact Logix, but there's no reason why you couldn't take that to control Logix as well. So and showing you here that they have the big one is a network interface, right? So the PLC 5 you have a remote I/O module in chassis for the control Logix, as well as some Encompass partner gateways out there. And then on the SLIC, you have the AENT module, which is, this slide's a little outdated, right? Planned release end of 2011. That is actually been released, and it's available out there. So you can, again, make your SLIC rack into a Ethernet IP drop. I wanted to throw this in here just to show that, again, we're not just talking Allen Bradley product. There's a lot of other things out there. Of course, if it's an Allen Bradley PLC 5 or SLIC to control Logix or compact Logix, there's a lot of tools out there, that Rockwell has, of course, to take their own products and move them forward. If it's if it's another brand out there, then there are, of course, software conversion services that Rockwell can offer. Of course, our integrator community can do that very well as well. There is an adapter for Monicon, so a little bit of an advantage on the Monicon conversions, perhaps.
We'll say we'll pick on that one, but the code conversion, an integrator might still want to use that because
true.
Rockwell does have some bulk code conversion tools they built around GE, Siemens, Monicon, all these others. So they can take the text file, do a bulk conversion, and spit it back to you for $1 a run, $2 a run. And
right.
As an integrator, you might want to take that and then scrub it.
Right. If in case the online couldn't hear that, that's kind of going that hybrid approach where maybe a local integrator might employ Rockwell to do some code conversion, which would be off-site. Not no need for a Rockwell guy to come down and travel. That could be all done off-site. So it's a bit of a win-win perhaps in those circumstances. All right. So just to kind of again, this is kind of the advantage of the Logix, yeah, you can live on PLC 5 for a while, you can live on Slick for a while, but there are a lot of advantages, of course, to moving to the newer technology and the Logix platforms and all, higher performance, integrated architecture, capability, being able to kind of connect in your drives and your smart motor devices and switches and Ethernet backbone, better in productivity, right? Because you're using newer tools and again things that are modern and people know how to program still. Lower cost, of course. Enhanced security, which is a huge bullet for a lot of customers. And then, of course, you're building on the foundations, putting in the foundation for the connected enterprise, which is really the next big step for an operation, right? It's not just, we have data, now you're using that data intelligently to improve your operations. So all of these, there's a lot of tools and references and stuff out there. So we're going to make all this available to you. The last thing, and I know we're a little over on time, but this will be the last slide, and that is simply to say that the Integrated Architecture Builder is a free tool that's part of the Rockwell's product selection toolbox. And we've done a lot of, Bill and I have done a lot of lunch and learns at customers to help show them these tools in the toolbox, and we can definitely do that with anybody in the audience out there. We can come and show you this a little bit better. But there are migration wizards that can take you, from 1771 to a ControlLogix, or from a Slick to either a CompactLogix or a ControlLogix. And then there's even a MicroLogix migration wizard for the two obsolete, or going end of life, I should say, MicroLogix, which are the 1000 and 1500. So one is to take the 1000 to the Micro 800, or the 1000 to the Compact L1 or L2, or then taking the MicroLogix 1500 to the MicroLogix 1400. And what makes the wizard really, really useful is, you can see in the picture there on the right-hand side, you kind of just drop in the cards that you have currently in your 1771 chassis or your Slick chassis. You just drop that part number into that rack, and when you do that, it kind of automatically picks the matching ControlLogix card that should replace it. And it actually puts all that conversion chassis stuff in there for you. So it puts the conversion chassis, the chassis itself, it puts that 1492 cable that you would need to go from the swing arm up to the card. So it puts all that in there, creates a bill of material for you, and then you can take that bill of material, bring that into Proposal Works. You've got a quote, and you can turn that over to us and say, here's your bill of material quoted. You can give that to your end customer and say, here's what it's going to take to convert that rack. It's all free. It's a very useful tool. So we're definitely a little over time. I would give a little demonstration on it, but I know we ran a little late, which is not a problem. Of course, the guys in the room don't want to leave anyway, but it's raining outside. But so you guys might want to. So anyway, with that, we want to kind of bring it to an end. Appreciate everybody's time and attention as always, and Joe for getting through the services part for us today. And this is just kind of again, the beginning of the legacy journey. So if you guys out there have questions and need help in sorting through all that, that's what we're here to do. So help you with that. So, any last chance for questions in the room or online? Just type in a question online if you have it. And if not, we'll go ahead and call it. So appreciate it, everybody. Drive safely. Thanks.